Hello, we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about a continuum of strategies to respond to inappropriate behavior. Uh, what it says here on the screen is what is the single most used but least effective method for addressing undesirable behavior. And unfortunately, what researchers find when they spend time in classrooms is that the most frequent response is a verbal scold. Or to publicly call a student out in front of his classmates. You know, a student, you ask your class to read, student in the back of the room is not reading. And so a teacher might say, like, hey, Rory, I've asked the class to read. You need to get started reading right away. That verbal scold is frequently used, but doesn't really have a great response from students. It's not really an effective intervention. So we're going to today take you through a continuum of strategies that you might want to put in place that could be more effective than that verbal scold. And so let's move forward with taking a look at some of those. So the idea around behavior support and changing student behavior using consequences is that consistency is the key, not severity. Students need to know that something is going to happen each time they do a behavior. Attendance comes to mind. One of the best ways to improve student attendance is to simply follow up every time a student who is frequently absent is absent. The knowledge that there's going to be someone following up consistently is something that changes human behavior. It is not the severity of the response, and that's what this is saying. It's just the fact that we are certain that a staff member, an adult, is going to respond when behaviors happen. That's what we want students to know. Suspension, even if you take things into account like things in the criminal justice system, the most severe penalties often don't change the crime rates. It's the consistency, it's the constant knowledge that, speed cameras are effective because they're always present, they're always around. So when we're talking about minor behaviors that are teacher managed, we want to make sure that we have a continuum of strategies in place. So here is an example, and I'll go back to my initial example of Rory not reading in the back of the classroom. So if I'm a teacher and I use that public scold and I say to Rory, you're in the back of the room and you're not reading, get started. What I've done is I've initiated a public conversation with that student. And so that student will now have the opportunity to publicly say no. And that is a bad situation for me as a teacher because teacher credibility really matters. So rather than shouting across the room, distracting the other students, setting up a potential conflict, I'm going to use this hierarchy of responses. So at first, I might just take a minute or two and ignore Rory. Maybe if we leave him alone for a few minutes, he's going to get started with his reading and it won't be an issue. So I stop and I let a couple of minutes go by, but I notice that he has not started reading. So you know what? I'm just going to go stand over next to his desk. Often proximity works. As adults, when we see a police officer on the side of the road, pretty much everybody slows their car down. Still not working. Rory is still not reading. So maybe I just tap his book, open it up, and put it on his desk for him. And I work my way down through this, right? So behavior-specific praise. I find someone sitting next to Rory who's doing a good job, who started reading right away, and I provide them with a compliment. All the way down to, providing the student with a choice. Hey, I noticed you didn't get started reading right away. Is there a reason for that? Is there something wrong with the book you're reading? Would you prefer maybe to read something else? Would you like a different space to sit in so you can read without distractions? But the idea is we have a list of interventions that we're going to use before we have that conversation with the student. And here you see when we have that conference with the student, it's not a public conversation. It's a one-on-one conference where we're talking about that behavior and asking the student to make changes, telling them what they're doing, why it's an issue, and what we'd like them to do moving forward. So here are just definitions of the strategies that I've included on the hierarchy or the continuum of responses that I just showed you. So you can see them here. I won't read them all out to you, but you can take time to read them. Further definitions of the remaining strategies. And also including a blank template so that if you did not like the continuum that I put together, you could put together a continuum for yourself, for your classroom, one that you think might be better for your students to respond to. And with that, we're going to end this video. Please do take the time to create one of these continuums, try it out in your classroom. My final suggestion would be, once you've created this, print it out and post it up on the wall in your classroom so you as an adult have a visual reminder of the change that you're trying to make, or the strategies that you're trying to implement. Thanks for watching.